At some point, progress starts feeling strange. Not because you stopped growing, but because growth doesn't feel satisfying anymore. You're doing better than before. Life is more stable. Problems that once consumed you are mostly handled now. From the outside, this looks like success. But inside, something feels off. You don't feel proud. You don't feel relieved. You feel behind. And that feeling doesn't come from your actual situation. It comes from comparison. You don't sit down and decide to compare yourself. It happens automatically. You see someone else's milestone, their upgrade, their next step forward, and suddenly your own progress feels smaller. Not because it is smaller, but because the frame changed. You're no longer measuring how far you've come. You're measuring how far someone else appears to be. And once that shift happens, progress stops feeling like progress. Comparison rarely starts on purpose. You don't wake up and decide to measure your life against someone else. It happens quietly. You open your phone. You scroll for a few seconds. You see someone else's progress, a promotion, a new income level, a milestone they just reached, and without realizing it, your mind updates the benchmark. Earlier, progress meant being better than yesterday. Now, progress means keeping up with someone else. That shift is subtle, but it changes everything. Because when you compare upward, your brain stops noticing improvement. It only notices distance. No matter how far you've come, there will always be someone further ahead, so your progress stops feeling like movement and starts feeling like delay. And here's the part most people miss. Comparison doesn't make you lazy, it makes you tense. Your goals stop feeling personal, they start feeling reactive. You're no longer asking, what do I want to build? You're asking, why am I not there yet? That question creates pressure, not clarity. And pressure feels productive, but it quietly drains motivation because you're chasing a moving target that was never yours to begin with. So even when you improve, satisfaction never arrives, not because you're failing, but because comparison keeps moving the finish line. At first, comparison feels motivating. You see someone ahead of you and think, if they can do it, so can I. But that motivation doesn't last. Because comparison doesn't create direction, it creates pressure, and pressure has a cost. When your progress is tied to someone else, every win becomes fragile. You reach a milestone. For a moment, it feels good. Then you see someone who's further ahead, and that feeling disappears. Not because your achievement lost value, but because comparison redefined success. Now success isn't improvement, it's position, and position is never stable. There will always be someone faster, someone richer, someone further along. So your mind stays alert, tense, never settled. That's why comparison doesn't energize you, it exhausts you. You're running, but there's no finish line. And without a finish line, effort starts feeling pointless. Another shift happens here. Your goals stop being about growth, they become about catching up. You're no longer building something meaningful, you're reacting. And reactive goals don't create satisfaction, they create anxiety. So even when you're doing more, it feels like you're falling behind. Not because you are, but because comparison turns progress into a race you can't win. When life was difficult, your identity was clear. You were someone trying to improve your situation. Every goal had urgency. Every step mattered. Survival gave your life direction. But now, life is more stable. The pressure is lower. The problems are quieter. And the old identity doesn't fit the same way anymore. You're no longer fighting to get out, but you're not sure what you're moving toward, so you feel undefined. Not failing, just unclear. And the mind doesn't like unclear. When urgency disappears, the brain searches for something to replace it. Benchmarks, labels, comparison. That's why after growth, comparison becomes louder, not because you're insecure, but because your old motivator is gone. Earlier, progress had a purpose: escape. Now that escape isn't necessary, progress feels empty. And without a clear identity, movement starts feeling like noise. You're doing things, achieving things, but you're not sure what they're for. That's why this phase feels uncomfortable, not because something is wrong, but because your identity is being rewritten. Feeling stuck after progress doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're in transition. The world taught you to move, to chase, to escape, to survive. Now, survival isn't urgent, and that space can feel strange. Because growth is no longer forced, it's chosen. You begin to notice new wins, saying no without guilt, enjoying progress without immediately chasing more, choosing rest without calling it laziness. These moments don't look impressive, but they change how life feels. Your focus shifts from position to meaning, from someone else's benchmark to your own internal compass. Comparison quiets down. You start asking new questions. What do I want to build now? What kind of life do I want to create? And those questions don't rush you. They invite you. You're not behind. You're not lost. You're between versions of yourself, and that's where real growth begins. This is the phase no one talks about, but it's the one that shapes everything else. It's quiet, but it matters more than loud victories ever could.